Hi, my name is Madeline Carter. I'm 32, and I thought I had everything I ever wanted: a loving husband, a family I could finally call my own, and a future that felt secure. But all of that shattered in a single, horrifying moment. Just yesterday, I walked into my mother-in-law's living room, smiling as I always do, carrying the birthday cake I had stayed up all night baking for her son, Ethan Green. I thought it would be a sweet, simple gesture. Instead, she looked me up and down, laughed in my face, and said the words I never imagined hearing. "You were never legally married to my son. None of this ever really happened." For a split second, I thought she was joking, but the cold, triumphant smirk on her face told me otherwise. My heart pounded, my hands shook, and I felt every ounce of humiliation and disbelief crush me. My husband, Ethan, stood silently in the corner, unable or unwilling to defend me. I wanted to scream, to run, to demand proof that this was all a mistake. But instead, I froze, feeling the weight of betrayal settle into every fiber of my being. That moment marked the breaking point. The moment I realized that everything I had built, everything I had believed in, could be stripped away with just a cruel, calculated sentence. I didn't know then how I would survive it, or how I would reclaim my life, but one thing was certain: I couldn't stay here, pretending everything was okay. Not after this. I grew up in Springfield, Illinois, in a house that looked normal from the outside but was anything but warm inside. My mother, Karen Carter, had a way of pointing out every flaw, every mistake, as if I was born to disappoint her. "Madeline, why can't you be more like your sister, Hannah?" she would say, time and again, comparing me to my younger sibling who seemed to do everything right effortlessly. My father, Robert Carter, was distant, often lost in his own world of work and distractions. He rarely intervened when my mother criticized me, and his silence spoke louder than any words of support ever could. I learned early on that my feelings didn't matter unless they served someone else's narrative. School offered no relief. I was the girl who quietly excelled but never quite belonged. Teachers praised me, friends liked me, yet the constant undercurrent of inadequacy from home followed me everywhere. Birthdays, holidays, even small achievements were met with cold acknowledgement or pointed comparison. Despite all this, I carried a spark of hope. I told myself I would create a life where I was loved and appreciated for who I am, not for what I could do to make others proud. I dreamed of a family where warmth wasn't conditional, where laughter wasn't edged with criticism. Little did I know, that dream would soon collide with the harshest reality, the one that would test everything I had learned about love, trust, and self-worth. After college, I met Ethan Green, a kind, ambitious man who seemed to see me in a way my family never did. I fell for him quickly, believing in the love and stability he offered. But love, I soon realized, doesn't always shield you from the chaos of family drama. From the very beginning, I tried to earn approval from Ethan's mother, Margaret Green. I attended every family gathering, helped plan events, and even rearranged my work schedule to be available for family needs. I spent countless nights baking, cleaning, and organizing, always hoping that one day, Margaret would see me as more than the girl Ethan brought home. I remember the sleepless nights helping Ethan with his business paperwork, the financial sacrifices I made to support joint ventures, and the emotional labor of soothing family conflicts that weren't even mine. I became the person everyone depended on, yet I remained invisible in their eyes. Tensions simmered constantly. Every compliment from Ethan was quickly followed by a backhanded remark from Margaret. "Are you sure you're ready for this family?" she would ask in that condescending tone, as if planting seeds of doubt in Ethan's mind. And no matter how hard I worked, it was never enough. My sacrifices were dismissed, my efforts minimized. Despite everything, I clung to hope. I told myself that love could conquer all, that Ethan's loyalty and our vows would protect me. But deep down, a shadow of doubt grew, whispering that the life I wanted might never be mine. And then came the day when that shadow turned into a full-blown storm, the day Margaret laughed in my face, declaring I was never legally married to her son. It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I had just finished preparing brunch for Ethan and his family. Everything seemed normal until Margaret Green walked into the kitchen, her eyes glinting with that familiar, sharp satisfaction she always carried. "I hope you know," she said slowly, her voice dripping with mockery, "you were never legally married to my son. None of this matters." The words hit me like a thunderbolt. My hands froze midair, a knife hovering over the cutting board. My heart raced. I couldn't breathe. What do you mean?" I stammered, barely holding myself together. Ethan didn't defend me. He looked down, silent, guilt written all over his face. The family room seemed to shrink around me, every eye fixed on my humiliation. Margaret continued, relentless. "I always knew you were pretending. You don't belong here. You never did." I felt an overwhelming mix of shame, anger, and disbelief. I had poured my heart and soul into this marriage, sacrificed so much, and yet here I was, reduced to nothing by a single, cruel declaration. With shaking hands, I set down the dishes, turned toward the door, and walked out. The door slammed behind me, echoing in the empty hallway. That slam wasn't just a sound. It was my declaration. I couldn't stay in a place where my existence was denied, my love invalidated, and my worth dismissed. The days after that confrontation were a blur. I stayed in a small Airbnb, packing only the essentials, my mind spinning with disbelief and heartbreak. I realized I couldn't stay anywhere that reminded me of rejection and betrayal. So I made the hardest decision of my life. I would disappear. I sold most of my belongings, closed my accounts, and quit my job at the marketing firm I had loved. I wanted to erase all traces of the life I once knew, to build a new one entirely on my terms. After weeks of planning, I moved to Austin, Texas, a city where no one knew me, where I could finally breathe without judgment. At first, starting over was terrifying. I took a small job at a cozy local bookstore, just enough to cover rent and basic necessities. I signed up for a painting class, met neighbors in the community garden, and slowly started making friends who didn't carry the weight of my past. These small victories, learning to cook for myself, laughing at silly jokes with strangers, even choosing my own decor, felt revolutionary. Gradually, I felt pieces of myself return. I no longer had to explain, defend, or justify my existence. I discovered joy in solitude, in independence, and most importantly, in recognizing my own worth. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace, a quiet confidence that whispered, "I am enough." Every morning, I reminded myself that leaving wasn't giving up, it was survival. I was reclaiming my life from the hands of people who had never truly valued me. With each day, my past felt less like a chain and more like a distant memory, one that no longer defined who I was or who I could become. It didn't take long for my disappearance to send shockwaves through my old life. Margaret and Ethan began spreading stories, twisting my absence into scandal. She ran away because she couldn't handle reality. They told anyone who would listen. The whispers reached even distant relatives, and I realized that leaving hadn't erased me from their minds. It had only enraged them. Ethan sent messages, half-hearted apologies masked as concern. "Madeline, I didn't know how to stop her," he wrote, trying to explain away his silence. I ignored them all. I had no interest in excuses or reconciliations from someone who had abandoned me in my most vulnerable moment. Then came Margaret's manipulations. She called claiming she was ill, sent messages hinting at guilt, and even enlisted mutual friends to convince me to return. Each attempt was a test, a trap designed to make me feel obligated, to make me doubt the path I had chosen. But I was stronger now. Every day in Austin had reinforced my independence, my self-worth. I refused to let guilt or manipulation dictate my life. I built a life on my own terms, surrounded by people who valued me, not by those who questioned my very existence. With each refusal, I felt lighter, freer. I realized that leaving wasn't running away. It was walking toward a life where I could finally thrive, away from toxicity and betrayal. Looking back now, I can see how far I've come. Leaving wasn't a punishment for anyone, it was a declaration for myself. I chose survival, self-respect, and peace over approval, over empty traditions, over people who never truly valued me. I've rebuilt my life from scratch in Austin, surrounded by friends who lift me up, a small business I'm proud of, and the freedom to define my own happiness. I laugh more now, sleep more peacefully, and no longer carry the weight of someone else's cruelty. Most importantly, I've learned this. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. Family is proven by love, not just blood. Those who truly belong in your life are the ones who uplift you, not diminish you. I may have been laughed at, dismissed, and denied, but I am no longer defined by those moments. I am defined by the courage it took to walk away, the resilience it took to rebuild, and the strength it took to finally love myself. And now, for the first time, I feel free.